of the calendar year, of course, not end of the fiscal year, but as we are looking at this compared to our budget versus year-to-date projected and year-to-date actual, we are, as net change in fund balance is a favorable of 9.4 million. Revenues were favorable of 7.2. They did drop just a little bit in December, but as we are seeing, this is an overall, year-to-date number, and expenditures were below, or 1.8 million below, or favorable below what we had actually projected. So that gave us a net change in fund balance of 9.4. So if that is where we were to land today at the end of the fiscal year, we would be adding 9.4 million to our reserve, which would give us a fund balance of 56.9 million. Okay, on the next page, this is just breakdown of revenues, budget compared to, again, what we projected for the month and what we projected for the actual. And this is, again, the grand total of a 7.2 favorable fund balance. You can see that the sales and use tax is still favorable. We're going to look at that in just a minute, and you can see a little drop in sales tax, but definitely an increase in some of the others. In our intergovernmental, let me just point that out. That's such a large number, which is very unusual, but that was the money we got from the CARES Act that we did not budget, which when we do our mid-year review, we're going to true that up, and so that'll be reflected in that budget then. And of course, that contributes to the large 7 million. And then on the last page for the breakdown as far as last December 2019 to December 2020, you see that we did have an increase of general sales tax, but not as big of an increase as we had seen in October and November. But again, a favorable of 371,000. Our seller's use tax was definitely much larger than we kind of expected for December, so it was 1.4. But as far as between the previous year and the current year, we actually saw an increase of 2.5 million, which is very encouraging considering, we're still seeing the effects of COVID at this time. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Bolt?
I have one that that was asked of me last night. Was what, looking at the revenue, what is driving the increase? Is it more the restaurants that are doing that? Do you have a kind of a breakdown of what's driving it? Because it's so, I guess we had diminished expectations, but to do better than the prior year is outstanding.
Right.
And I was just wondering, I was asked why that was, and I didn't know if you had any information on that.
I don't have it broken down as far as like what type of business, but I do know looking, at previous years, our SSUT, or looking at previous months, SSUT is really the biggest one, making the largest difference as far as the different sales tax. But I don't have like the general sales tax broken down into what types of business, but I can get that for you.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any additional questions? Thank you, Ms. Bolt.
Sure.
We'll move into our regular agenda now and begin with item 7, a resolution approving an alcohol license for Jefferson's in South Lake. Ms. Dickerson, anything special on this one?
There is not, and the police department is not opposed to the request.
Very good. Any questions from the body for Ms. Dickerson or the police? Item number 8 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement, a venue usage agreement with the World Games 2021 and the Public Park and Rec Board of the City of Hoover. I see Ms. Coball and Mr. Jay Caston are here. Mr. Caston, would you mind coming down and just making introduction, if you would, please, sir? I know members of the body have had an opportunity to view the document you've shared with us, but anything you'd like to share with us?
No, again, my name is Jay Cass. I'm the Vice President of Operations for the World Games 2022. It says 21 because that's our foundation legal name. Obviously, with us switching a year, but we're ecstatic with the opportunity to partner with the City of Hoover and utilize the Hoover Met for softball. Softball will be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, sports during the World Games, and the Hoover Met's the perfect venue for us. So we really appreciate your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Caston? Thank you, sir, for being here. Item number 9 is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the ALDOT. Mr. Reeves, would you share with us on this item, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Actually, Resolution 6405 and 6410, items 9 and 10, are standard maintenance agreements with ALDOT related to the Phase 2 roadway lighting project along US Highway 31. This project is a continuation of the Phase 1 project that was completed in 2019, which started just north of the Cahaba River Bridge on Highway 31 and continued up to Patton Chapel Road South. This phase will start at Patton Chapel Road, just north of Patton Chapel Road South, and continue up to the I-65 southbound ramp and the Lorna Road intersection with Highway 31. The project is approximately 1.3 miles long, and it will replace the existing fiberglass streetlight poles on both sides of Highway 31 in this corridor. The ALDOT construction agreement was approved by the City Council in May of 2019. This is an 80-20 split funded project, 80% federal funds, 20% city funds. These funds have been allocated and are currently budgeted in our budget. The estimate for this project is $1.27 million, and we anticipate this project being in the ALDOT letting schedule this June for construction.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Reeves? That portion that's been completed, Mr. Reeves, is fantastic down through there.
Yes, sir.
Really nice. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Item number 11 is a resolution accepting a bid for uniforms, boots, and accessories for public works and park maintenance personnel for the city of Hoover. I have Ms. Bolt and Ms. Hamilton on that item.
Yes, this is a standard bid for uniforms, boots, and accessories. Every bidder was responsive and responsible. You can see from the bid tabulation sheet that it was given to the lowest bidder by category, so it was very spread out as far as who all got business. So some of those vendors, we also had added something new to the invitation to bid, and it was something that Councilman Murphy had asked about the disadvantaged business enterprises, and that statement just read, "Disadvantaged business enterprises will be afforded full opportunity to submit bids in response to this invitation and will not be discriminated against on the grounds of race, color, gender, religion, age, disability, marital status, or national origin in consideration for an award." There are 2 vendors on here that are new vendors that we've never used before, and it was Uniforms Galore, which is actually one of the disadvantaged business enterprises. Also, Bright Promotions. And then you can see the bid tabulation sheet of which category each vendor was awarded.
So tell me what I'm looking at there, Ms. Bolt. So this items 1 through 11, are those who we're awarding to?
Oh, it's this page, it's got the highlighting.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
It's in the resolution. Yeah, I have placed all the items of who it's being awarded to, the estimated quantity, and the estimated price per item.
Yeah.
And I can't get it to scroll right now, but I'm working on that.
You're
so.
talking about the page that's got the highlighted fields. It shows the proposed
Okay, if you go
line.
to the resolution, it's there. If you look at
Okay.
the, what's on the screen that I'm operating over here.
Yeah, okay, I see that, yeah.
There it is.
I can't find it.
Oh, yours did the same thing. There's those lines.
Any questions for Ms. Bolt while I try to figure this out?
Switch with Casey right quick.
That's the same thing, Casey.
I'm not sure which page you're looking at.
That's the winners, but that shows you all the bids. That shows you every bid.
I guess what I'm getting at is I'm curious how many bidders we had.
That's that.
Chief Durzis is well familiar with my disdain for only having one bidder year after year on his stuff.
1 second, we have that in the description, how many bidders we had. There were 10 bids received.
That's good. Okay, so we had plenty of choices.
Yes, we did, and so it was broken down into, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 of those bidders actually will receive business from us.
Okay, good. Very good. Okay, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Bolt on that? Thank you, Dr. Middlebrooks. Saved the day there.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is item number 12. Resolution authorizing application for the ADECA Recreational Trails Program grant for a boardwalk at Moss Rock. Mr. Rice, you have this item?
Thanks, Mr. President. The majority of this information is going to come from our Economic Community Development Department, who've worked very hard on this, along with Colin Connor, our forester. This is an improvement grant for accessibility for trails and amenities to be constructed on the property we propose to purchase from U.S. Steel. You'll recall that we already have money allocated for a buffer purchase to add to Moss Rock Preserve, and so this is a very innovative process of taking advantage of some ADECA money to make amenity improvements. I had spoken to a couple of council members very early in this process. We thought we were going to have an $800,000 total award, 50% of which would need to be a match, which we would take from those allocated funds. Rules have changed on us a little bit. The total award is capped at $200,000, and we really can't use it to purchase land. So we're okay. We're not at a deficit. We'll take the money we had already set aside, buy the buffer if that's the council's will. And then when this money comes in, we'll apply it to improve that property. So I'll yield to these folks for the details. They've done all the legwork on it.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Mr. President, the materials you have in front of you give an overview of the scope of the ADECA grant, but I'll walk the body through if that's your wish. Obviously, there have been discussion for some time now about improving accessibility into Moss Rock. Dr. Middlebrooks has talked about that, and as our department had committed, we very much want to identify grant funds that can help offset capital costs for the city. I'd like to really thank Ms. Nance for her hard work on this. She identified the recreational trails program that is administered by ADECA, and it is designed just for programs like this. This would allow the city to pursue funding for access and improvements to the preserved Boulder Field trailhead. It would include 3 key items: an accessible parking area, an accessible trail segment, and a viewing platform into the Boulder Field. And so obviously this would provide much more accessibility and the opportunity for people of all abilities to experience this. It's not unlike, it's smaller scale than what you may see if you've been to Cheehaw and been out to Bald Rock, which allows a grand view of that area, so people are able to get out to it. As Mr. Rice mentioned, there is a $200,000 cap on the grant that can come from ADECA. And a 20% match is required. You'll see it requires a $50,000 match from the city because it's identified as a $250,000 project. So just to explain that math a little bit, I had to have it explained to me this morning because I was a little confused about that myself. But key things to take into consideration, the submission deadline is March the 3rd. The notification award is anticipated somewhere in July, August, so we would know then whether to come back to the body to let you know whether or not the funds would need to be allocated and how they would stretch across fiscal year 21 and 22 due to the time frame of 18 months that the project must be committed. And thanks again to Colin Connor for his work on this with forestry and with Ms. Nance. Any questions we can answer for you, we're happy to.
Any questions on the project?
Yes, Mr. President. So I know that there's been several discussions about the layout of this area and how, 'cause I see there's parking as part of this project.
Yes.
So how committed does this grant, can this be shifted around at all, or is it pretty flexible?
I am going to defer to my colleagues on that.
Like, right now, I know there's a lot of development slated for that area to the upper right here. And I know there's going to be some buildings and things like that. So there had been some discussion that maybe that's not the best place to park in the future. So if if the parking's ever moved down further to the main road there or anything like, I guess, just how flexible is this grant? Is it locked in at a certain map or where certain things can be, or is it just it can be changed?
It'll be project detailed,
Okay.
right? So this will go toward trails.
Okay, all right.
And our parking and
Okay.
that concept, but no, it doesn't say it has to be
Has to
point
be
A,
this
point B.
layout and all
Right.
that stuff. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr. President.
Any other questions?
Mr. President, if I may, I just want to commend Colin and Dee for their work on this. I know it's our goal to make Hoover a model city for accessibility and universal design. And they took this and developed an outstanding vision and action plan to bring it forth. So job well done. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Item number 13 is a resolution approving and assenting to a declaration of vacation. Ms. Dickerson, this is a right-of-way issue, I believe.
Yes, this is a portion of Klein's Drive. The Planning and Zoning Commission heard this request in a final plat back in July, and this is for the declaration to declare it vacated.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Dickerson on that? Item number 14 is a resolution asking for concurrence with the mayor on appointment of the BJCTA board. I think the membership has received some information on that. Certainly, I know the mayor would welcome any questions, or we can discuss that on Monday night. Any questions from the body on that appointment? Then item 15, we'll have a resolution authorizing Birmingham Water Works to install a couple of fire hydrants. Chief Bentley.
Really, I'm fine. It's everybody else.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first hydrant is a hydrant that's just a general installation at Peridot Place, Peridot Way, where walk-ons will be constructed. But the other hydrant is at 571 Park Avenue, and that hydrant is in front of the school, and they're moving it from a private hydrant to a public hydrant. So that's important that you know that, because that's something that we would pay rent on. The reason we're doing that is because of the way it's installed with the sprinkler and the standpipe system there. It's in the wrong location, so it has to become public for that. So just making you aware of that.
Very good. Any questions for the chief? Thank you, sir. I do want the body to make them aware that we will add an item and we will amend the agenda to take up the Clearwater Solutions contract that we carried over from last meeting. So that will be added to the agenda for Monday night. Madam Clerk, if you would add that to the regular agenda so we could have time for questions. Any changes to that, please?
Yes, sir, I will.
And we'll have two first readings, ordinance 21-2506, and annexation from 2316 Teton Road. Mr. Shaw, I believe you've studied this one?
Yes, sir. These are, both these are single properties with all four borders in Hoover. These are these infill annexations that we typically put straight on the agenda because, well, we don't have official policy. It's generally, we've understood that we want to annex properties like that in.
Very good. So both ordinances, you say, are part of that same?
Yeah, well, they're both the same character.
Very good.
There should be a map in there.
Yeah, there's a map.
Yeah.
Very well.
If you can.
This is the first map for 2316 Teton Road. And I'll, would you like, are you ready
Sure,
for the
yes,
next
if you
one?
can see the
Okay.
next one.
This one is for 3734 Spearman Drive.
So yeah, as you can see there, onesie twosies, all surrounded by Hoover on all borders.
Very good. Do the applicants happen to be in the chamber tonight?
They will be here Monday night.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Any other questions on those two items? All right, that brings us to the end. Any other questions or comments from the body tonight? All right, we will gather Monday to vote on these items. That adjourns us for our work session, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Shaw. I believe we have a annexation committee meeting.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't see a reason for a break unless y'all want to. Yeah, let's rock and roll. All right, so we'll go ahead and call to order our first annexation committee meeting of this term. There's only one case on there. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's only one case on there. Madam Clerk, do we need to call the roll for this?
Yes. Chairman Shaw,
Here.
Vice Chairman Murphy, Mr. Posey, Mr. Sweeney,
Here.
Mr. Lyda,
Here?
Dr. Middlebrooks,
Here.
Mr. McClinton.
Here.
Okay. There's only one case on this, it's called Misty Dawn Lane. And you can, pulling it up on the map. You said it's a little different character, the two we just looked at. Madam Clerk, what is the name of the applicants on this again?
This is Christy and Jerry Mason.
Jerry Mason.
And they are in attendance.
Okay, I was about to ask him if the Mason's here. Would you like to talk a little bit about your request?
That's good.
First, I just want to say thank you for considering the annexation for our property, because this really is important to my daughter. We bought this property next to us, and we were not aware that it wasn't zoned for Hoover School. They are in Hoover, but their address right now is 1426 Woodland Circle, and it's in Helena. And it's very difficult for them because the people that are above us, their children go to Hoover also. These children have been in Hoover schools one's a senior this year, and the daughter has been since South Crest opened, and she will be in Bumpus this year, or she has been when they were attending. But if there's any way that we could be annexed into Hoover, if you look at the map, all around us, our property touches Hoover that has been taken in. Up on Chase Crest Road, everything around us except for right down below, which is Blankenship. Because in back of where our land is all Hoover, where I think they had proposed the Black Ridge.
That would be on the other side, I thought. Yeah. Okay. And just to be clear, this is in Jefferson County currently, correct?
No, this is Shelby.
Shelby? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
you
sir.
mentioned that they'd be going to Helena schools. It's not in the city of
No,
Helena, though.
They have been going to Hoover School since the beginning. There's part of their subdivision there that's on Highway 93. It's Woodland Circle. Part of that subdivision is zoned Hoover, and the other is zoned Helena. So they've been going to Hoover schools the whole time.